Hello, grade 7 students. In this video, we're going to talk about our new lesson about the immune cells. In this video, we're going to differentiate between the red blood cells, the RBCs, and the white blood cells, WBC. We are going to identify the cells involved in immunity. Also, we're going to determine the different immune organs, the primary one and the secondary ones. Let's start first with some information about the blood. Blood flows everywhere through the human body. Sure, we cannot live without blood. The heart pumps blood to all our body cells, supplying them with oxygen and food. Blood also carries proteins and cell fragments that are called the platelets that are important for clotting of the blood wherever we have an injury. So you have to know that blood flows everywhere through the human body. Second, we cannot live without the blood. Third, you have to know that the heart pumps blood to all our body cells, supplying them with oxygen and food. And also blood carries proteins and cell fragments that are called platelets that let the blood clot whenever we have an injury. Now we're going to differentiate between white blood cells and red blood cells. So let's start with the red blood cells. Red blood cells that are called erythrocytes. This is the other name of red blood cells. The red blood cells, they are spelled by RBC, red blood cells, even though you can see an S, RBCs, red blood cells. While white blood cells, they are WBC, white blood cells. So red blood cells, they are called the erythrocytes, and the white blood cells, they are called the leukocytes. Leukocytes, erythrocytes. Red blood cells, they are small in size and they are very high in number. So they are small in size, many in number. While the white blood cells, they are very large in size, while they are few in number. So this is the first difference between the red blood cells and the white blood cells. First of all, white blood cells and red blood cells. Red blood cells, they are called erythrocytes. We have to know both names. Red blood cells, erythrocytes. And white blood cells, they are called leukocytes. The red blood cells, they are small in size, where they are many in numbers, while that of the white blood cells, they are large in size, few in number. Red blood cells, they are red in color, while the white blood cells, they are not red in color, meaning that they are not white. Okay, so pay attention to this. They are not white in color. This is not an information that they are white in color definitely, but sure, they are not red in color. Whereas red blood cells, they are red in color. Red blood cells, they are anucleated, meaning that they are without nucleus, no nucleus. That's why we can do blood transfusion, because they don't have a nucleus, meaning that they don't have HLA. Remember about HLA, human leukocyte antigen. While the white blood cells, they are nucleated, meaning that they have a nucleus. What is the role of the red blood cells? Red blood cells, they have an important role to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide, whereas the white blood cells, they have an important role in defending the body. So they are called the immune cells. So let's make a quick revision about this important table of comparison between the white blood cells and the red blood cells. Red blood cells, as I said, erythrocytes. White blood cells, they are called leukocytes. The red blood cells, they are small in size and they are many in number, whereas the white blood cells, they are large in size and they are few in number. The red blood cells, they are red in color, whereas the white blood cells, they are not red. Okay, they have different colors, but they are not red in color. The red blood cells, they have no nucleus, they're called anucleated cells, whereas the white blood cells, they are nucleated, they have nucleus. You have to know that the role of the red blood cells is to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide, whereas the white blood cells, they have a role in defending the body, they have an immune cell role. This figure showing the red blood cells and the white blood cells. Red blood cells, they exist about 5 to 6 million cells per milliliter, whereas the white blood cells, they are about 5,000 cells per milliliter. So these are the red blood cells. They can be observed under the microscope through a slide called the blood smear. This is the red blood cells. They are about 5 to 6 million cells in milliliter, whereas the white blood cells, they are not red in color and they are 5,000 cells. So these are 1,000 times more. That's why they are small in size, large in number, whereas the white blood cells, they are large in size, few in number. Let's move now to the cells involved in the immunity. What are the cells that are involved in the immune reaction? Let's start first. What is the horse name? What is the relation between the horse and the cell? This is called the monocyte. Monocyte, it's an important cell in the immune reaction. You see, this is like the horseshoe shape. This is the horseshoe. If you look about this is the horseshoe that can wear it in the legs of the horse. If you look at this cell, monocyte, it has a nucleus similar to the horseshoe. So this is an important characteristic of the monocytes. They have a nucleus similar to the horseshoe. That's why it's called a horseshoe shaped nucleus, meaning that it's a nucleus which is similar to the horseshoe. It's called horseshoe shaped nucleus. So monocytes, you have to know it. You have to know that this is the cell. Drawing the cell, we have the cytoplasm in the middle in the cell. We have the horseshoe shaped nucleus. What the meaning of this? Meaning that the nucleus looks like a horseshoe. If you look about this, is horseshoe. And here the membrane is called the cytoplasmic membrane. So you have to know from the figure that this cell is called the monocyte. What are the characteristics of the monocytes? You have to study these characteristics. Monocytes, they are large in size. They have horseshoe-shaped nucleus. They have a shoe-shaped nucleus or the horseshoe-shaped nucleus. They can flow in the blood vessels. They can move in the blood vessels. They can cross the capillary walls. And they can mature. They can develop into a macrophage. What is the macrophage? Macrophage, it has an important role. It has a role in phagocytosis. Phago eat, cytocell. So phagocytosis eating other cell. So when this cell monocyte becomes mature cell, becomes a well-developed cell, it has a role in phagocytosis. It becomes a macrophage that has a role in phagocytosis. What the meaning of phagocytosis? It can approach toward other cell and it can eat this cell. This is called phagocytosis. Phago, eat, cyto, a cell. So eating other cell is called phagocytosis. Okay, I will repeat the notes about the monocytes. Monocytes, as I said, large in size, have horseshoe-shaped nucleus. They have a nucleus similar to the horseshoe. They can flow in the blood vessels. They can cross the capillary walls, moving from one organ to another where there is an infection. They can mature, or they will mature, into a macrophage. What the meaning of a macrophage? Macrophage, it has a role of phagocytosis, meaning that eating other cell. Okay? Other cells involved in immunity, they are called granulocytes. Granulocytes, they are called so because they have granules in the cytoplasm. These dots in the cytoplasm, they are called the granules. So they have granules in the cytoplasm, that's why they are called granulocytes. If you look at the nucleus is not horseshoe shaped. It's composed of more than one lobe. For example, this is a lobe, this is second lobe, third lobe, fourth lobe, maybe 2 or 3, 4, whatever. So they are called a multi-lobed nucleus cells. So these cells, granulocytes, they have multi-lobed nucleus. What the meaning of this? Meaning that the nucleus is composed of more than one lobe. Multi meaning that more than many. So many lobes nucleus. Okay, this is the difference between the granulocytes and the monocytes. In the monocytes, if you remember, in the monocytes we have horseshoe shaped nucleus, whereas in the granulocytes we have multi-lobed nucleus. Let's move to the notes. Some notes, they are common between the granulocytes and the monocytes. Granulocytes, also they are large in size. They have multi-lobed nucleus. They have granules in their cytoplasm. These are the granules, these dots. They can flow in the blood vessels. They can cross the capillary walls, and they have an important role in phagocytosis. They can eat other cells. Now let's move to the lymphocytes. So first we talked about the monocyte. We said that the monocyte, they have horseshoe-shaped nucleus. They can cross the capillary wall. They can flow in the blood vessels. They mature into macrophage, and they have a role in phagocytosis, meaning that they can have a role in eating other cells. We talked about the granulocytes. We said that the granulocytes, they have granules in their cytoplasm. They have multi-lobed nucleus. They can cross the capillary walls, and they have an important role in phagocytosis. And kindly note that you have to know the figures. So if I gave you a figure, you have to know that this cell, for example, is a monocyte. How? From the nucleus. If it is a horseshoe-shaped nucleus, meaning that it's a monocyte. If it's a multi-lobed nucleus, so it's a granulocyte. The cells involved in immunity, we have, other than the monocytes and the granulocytes, we have lymphocytes. Lymphocytes. We have two types of lymphocytes. We have something called B lymphocyte and something called T lymphocyte. B lymphocytes, they are large in size. They have large round nucleus, as seen here. This is the large round nucleus. They have a small cytoplasm, since most of the cytoplasm is occupied by this large nucleus. They have an important role. They secrete antibodies. These Y-shaped structures, they are called antibodies. So they secrete antibodies, or they produce antibodies to kill the non-self. So B lymphocytes, they are large in size. They have large round nucleus. They have small cytoplasm, and they have a role in secretion of antibodies to kill the non-self. So you have to know that the B lymphocytes, they are large in size. I repeat, large round nucleus. They have a small cytoplasm, and they have an important role in secretion of the antibodies. So we're going to see that the T lymphocytes, they have same properties approximately, but they differ related to the role, and they differ in the structure. So here, the B lymphocytes, if you have to label the figure, this is the cytoplasmic membrane. Cytoplasmic membrane, large round nucleus. This is a small cytoplasm, and these Y-shaped structure, they are called antibodies. They secrete antibodies. Let's move now to the T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, they are very similar to that of B, but they have a difference related to the structure and to the role. T lymphocytes also, they are large in size, large around the nucleus. They have a small cytoplasm. They have a role in killing the non-self. How? They don't have antibodies like the B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes, on their surface, they have the antibodies. They secrete antibodies to kill the non-self. While the role of the T cells, they are killer cells. Why they are killer? Because they use their T cell receptor. T cell receptor is going to be written as TCR. T cell receptor to kill the non-self. So they use their TCR to kill the non-self. So I repeat, B and T, they are very similar to each other. For example, maybe in the quiz, I'm going to give you a figure like this. This is the cell and this is the nucleus. And I'm going to ask you, what is this cell? Some of you is going to say it's B lymphocyte. Others, they are going to say that, no, sir, it's T lymphocyte. What do you think? What's the correct answer, B or T? I'm going to say the answer, both of them, B or T. Since both of them, they are large in size, both of them, they have large rounded nucleus, and both of them, they have the small cytoplasm. But if I added for this cell antibodies like this, so in this case it's going to be the B lymphocyte for sure. Okay? So this is the labeling of the cell of the T lymphocytes. They have large rounded nucleus. You have to know the figure. You have cytoplasmic membrane, small cytoplasm, and these are the T cell receptors, TCR. This is an application. Based on the figure you see in each of the given cells, identify each cell and give the properties of each. Let's start with the A. A, it has a large nucleus, small cytoplasm. It's large in size. So, what is the name of the cell? Maybe it's B, maybe it's T. We can't know unless we have either antibodies or TCRs. If you have antibodies, so it's the B. If we have TCRs, so it's the T. So A, it's maybe A, it's maybe B lymphocytes or T lymphocytes. B cell, as you see, the B cell, it has multi-lobed nucleus. 1, 2, 3. So multi-lobed nucleus. It's the granulocytes. It has granules also in the cytoplasm, but the main difference between them is the multi-lobed nucleus, because sometimes the granules can be seen in the figure. Okay? While the C, it has horse-shaped nucleus, so the C, it's the monocyte, and this is granulocyte, and here A, it's B or T lymphocyte. Okay, so now let's move about the antibodies. Antibodies, what are they? They are Y-shaped proteins. They are secreted by the B lymphocytes into the blood. Antibodies are specific. What the meaning of antibodies? They are specific. They bind to specific antigen, a specific non-self antigen. So the antibodies in the body, they bind to specific non-self antigen. For example, antibodies against the flu antigen, they are going to bind only to the flu antigen. That's meaning they are specific, they are unique, they are special for an antigen. Okay, so every antibody is specific or special for a non-self antigen. Now you have a question. What are the organs of production and what are the organs of maturation of the immune cells? B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes. Where are they produced?
Where do they mature? So this is the big question. What is the bone marrow and what is the thymus? So, immune organs. We have primary immune organs and secondary immune organs. What are the primary? They are the organs of production and maturation of the immune cells. What are they? And the secondary immune organs, they are the sites of the immune response. They are the place where the immune response will occur. Immune organs, they are the bone marrow and the thymus. Bone marrow, it has an important role. Bone marrow can be written as BM, bone marrow. Bone marrow has an important role. It produces all the immune cells, and it has an important role in maturation of B lymphocytes only. So it produces the immune cells. It produces mainly B and T lymphocytes, but it matures only B. So how can we know that? How can you remember, Mr. Muhammad, that the B lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow? B lymphocytes, it start with the letter B. Bone marrow start with the letter B. So B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow. What is the role of the thymus? Thymus has an important role. This role is only the maturation of T. So B and T, they are produced where? In the bone marrow. B matures in the bone marrow, whereas T matures in the thymus. Sir Muhammad, how can we know that the T lymphocytes, how can we remember that T lymphocytes mature in the thymus? T lymphocytes, it starts with the letter T. Thymus, it starts with the letter T. So maturation of the T lymphocytes occurs in the thymus, while maturation of the B lymphocytes occurs in the bone marrow. So bone marrow is the origin of B and T. So B and T, they are produced in the bone marrow. B and T lymphocytes, they are produced in the bone marrow. Bone marrow is the origin. So bone marrow produces both B and T lymphocytes. B matures where? B lymphocytes, bone marrow. So B lymphocytes matures in the bone marrow, whereas T lymphocytes, they mature in the thymus. Okay, moving to secondary immune organs. Secondary immune organs, we have the lymph nodes and we have the spleen. Lymph nodes, they have an important role. They have an important role where the immune response against the tissue infection occurs at the level of the lymph nodes, whereas the spleen, the responses take place against the blood infection. So this is the difference about spleen and the lymph node. We said that the secondary immune organ, there are the sites of the immune reaction, right? So the sites of the immune reaction, meaning that the immune reaction will occur in the lymph nodes and the spleen, but the lymph nodes is special for tissue infection, whereas the spleen is special for the blood infection. So I repeat, we have primary immune organs, secondary immune organs. Primary immune organs, they are the bone marrow and the thymus. Bone marrow produces B and T and matures only B, whereas the thymus produces nothing, it only matures the T. So the thymus has a small role, it only matures only the T lymphocyte, whereas B and T, they are produced in the bone marrow and the bone marrow matures the B. So the bone marrow is the origin, is the strongest one. It has a role in production of both B and T lymphocytes and matures only the B, whereas the thymus has a minor role, it matures only the T. Secondary immune organs, we have the lymph node and we have the spleen. Lymph node, it's a immune response that took place against tissue infection, against infection at the level of the tissues. It occurs at the level of the lymph nodes, where the infection at the level of the blood, the response against them occurs at the level of the spleen. Okay guys, so pay attention and review the notes very well. Thank you, bye bye.